Ghosts, UFOs, alien encounters, and all things paranormal. These are real stories from real people. This is Fear of the Unknown. Hey, I'm here with Chris from Flyball Governor. How you going, man?
I'm going pretty good, Paulo. And yourself?
Good. So let's just get straight into it.
Let's.
First subject, capitalism.
Oh, the spookiest. The fucking spookiest.
All right.
Now that we've got that out of the way.
Yeah. Okay. So, you haven't given me any clues as to what we're going to be talking about too much.
No, I thought I'd keep it a bit open-ended because you're an ace interviewer.
Am I? Thanks.
Well, you're a spooky interviewer.
Yeah, that's it.
As I was saying to you before we started...
Can you just lower the mic a bit? Just put it between you and me.
Okie dokie.
Yeah, perfect.
As I was saying to you before we started, right. I was really quite skeptical and like very excessively scientifically minded as a younger person, and I've noticed that a lot of the time people have these like paranormal experiences. It's when they're younger or when they're in like a really when they're in a state of mind that's receptive to those kind of unexplainable experiences.
Right.
But then when you kind of from like I remember like year 8, year 9 even being like very scientific and think, you know, you're smug when you're that young.
Yeah.
You think you know everything. Yeah. So I think a lot of the time anything that spooky that kind of happened in my life, I would very quickly and like almost instinctively explain away.
Yeah.
I think you call it like smug skepticism in another podcast where it's like
I think
you find an explanation just like that.
Yeah. It's its own little kind of personality set, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, and I think it's comorbid with a lot of other immature personality traits, shall we say?
I think so. Yeah. I think it's just part of growing. I think some people don't lose it just because. I don't know. I think some people genuinely just find it empowering to be like, nope, that's swamp gas.
Yeah.
And
I think
or like just being able to look down on other people.
Yeah. Explanations feel good because you know how the world works, and you also feel better than the poor confused people that don't.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing as well is you kind of get out what you put in. Like you perceive the world. You have a preconceived idea of the world in your mind, and then you perceive the world and you kind of try to fit the two together, say. Yeah. So if you have a preconceived idea of the world where like none of this is possible and anyone who thinks is just stupid, it doesn't kind of matter what you see because you're gonna filter everything through that.
But you know what's worse than that, man?
Go on.
People who do fakes.
Do fakes?
Yeah, people who do hoaxes. I think that's skepticism is one of those things where they'll be forgotten. You know, they're just an annoying voice that they don't make. They're not the ones that are remembered in history. But the real hoaxsters, they're the ones that actually send people in the wrong direction. They exploit a thing that is mysterious that we're trying to understand, and they put a real cog in the works because we're trying to analyze all the factors that they've presented us and adding it to the pool of knowledge so we can understand the bigger picture, and they're just fucking it up. And I think that's to me that's the most annoying thing.
Yeah, they're a spanner in the works in the sense that like there are people who want to believe, but so they're going to have a bias where they're going to see things that have the potential to be like paranormal.
Yeah.
And you can exploit that by like making a hoax, say.
Yeah.
But that's just the other side of the coin of the people who just deny.
Yeah.
And they shut down the conversation. So I would say the hoaxer and the excessive skeptic are kind of doing the same job.
Yeah.
In a way, like they're making the conversation about the paranormal impossible because it's either foolish or a way to exploit the foolish.
Totally agree.
But then you've got to wonder, is that not... That doesn't say anything about the supernatural. That just says something about people's worse nature, that they will exploit the belief in that for whatever, like money or notoriety. Well,
that's the thing.
Whatever.
I think it's not a thing that's exclusive to the paranormal world. That's what happens in the scientific world. Like all these people are like crawling over each other, trying to get their papers published, trying to be acknowledged by their peers, trying to get that that acknowledgement. And throughout the years, people have always been doing things. If you look at like fossil records of the evolution of man and stuff, that's been fucked with. Like there is this French paleontologist that messed around with and fabricated so much shit. It's too late to undo the damage. I'm not saying that like I mean, basically what he did is he got Darwin's theory, and he's like, oh, let me just play some jigsaw and let me fill in the gaps for him.
He prefigured the conclusion and then tried to slot in the speculation into it. Yeah. So he fabricated a lot. And there's a lot of people that have just fabricated shit or have their theory. And this is another aspect of science where theory is like acknowledges theory, and it's acknowledged and it's acknowledged, and then it's repeated and it's repeated and it's repeated, and then it becomes fact in the general consciousness of the scientific community. Yeah, I think that's also damaging because it is. It closes off avenues. I think the scientific community, unfortunately, like a lot of things, they're subject to like quite a large system that tends to dictate how they do things. Like this is going to be a very shaggy dog story because I can't remember the term, but there's a scientific field that is specifically the measurement of constants like the speed of light. And there's a period of time, I think it's in the 70s, the speed of light like mysteriously drops a few Ks per second or something, and then a few years later it goes right back up. And that's weird. What goes on there? This is from a TED Talk, so, come at me, citation.
Dude, everything I'm talking about is from TED Talk.
Excellent stuff. But no, so this person,
documentaries. He
asked the department or university of this subject, why did this happen? And it turns out one big university had messed up the thing. They tried a new system or they tried a new method, and they got the wrong result. But then a bunch of other universities replicated the wrong result. And apparently it was not exclusively, but largely due to you could call it academic pressure, I guess, to conform to, and
oh shit, it's already canonized.
But then, okay, so all the calculations done in that period of time, right, on an exam and everything, what was the speed of light then, and thus what was the correct solution to the questions on the exam? Now, the speed of light's the speed of light, but the correct solution to the exam is whatever the book said. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So, but you can't argue that the people who did that exam and used the wrong, air quotes, wrong speed of light on the exam got the wrong answer. They got the right answer in the parameters they were given, and they did correct, air quote, correct science in the parameters they were given. It just so happened that a mismeasurement made them working on it. You know what I mean? It's like they're correct institutionally, even though the speed of light did not change. Yeah. It's even science is subject to those big institutions, I'd say.
It's crazy. But that's good to talk about it, and it's good to...
I wish more people knew that kind of stuff, because the number of times people are like, it's in a science book, man, read a book. It's like, dude, read a book about the book and question maybe how the book got written, and then we can have a conversation.
It's all people. It's all imperfection.
It's all dialogue.
Yeah. So, at this point in your life, are there any things that you feel that you do believe in? In terms of the paranormal.
Okay. I used to be not spiritual at all, and now I'm fairly sure all the trees and stuff are talking to each other all the time, for example. Now, there's probably, root systems can transfer hormones or chemicals. I don't know how they do it, but I am fairly sure the trees talk to each other because, nature kind of knows stuff before we know stuff. Is that spiritual? I definitely didn't believe it when I was very science-minded, and I kind of believe it now. You know how humans are a social species? Yeah. Like, in a way, in a really abstract way, we're kind of a hyper-social species. Like, how ants build mounds and they do these great feats of stuff. If you zoomed back enough and over a long enough time lapse, humans are doing it too. But we tend to, overanalyze it, and we kind of abstract it, and we think there's, this better, more ethereal way. But the way humans talk and the way we can plan and have an imagined idea and then actualize it in the world is kind of, in a way, that's just one way of what nature is kind of constantly doing all the time. We just don't know the goals, or we don't know like we can say it's evolution. Yeah, that's the mechanism. That's how it walks, but we don't know where it's walking to or why it's walking, or if there is a why, or if.
But it seems to be moving somewhere. It seems to have this goal.
Hell yeah, it has. Well, why wouldn't it?
Which leads me to, I'm just going to cut to the chase here.
Let's do it.
Aliens.
You reckon?
I'm just saying, with with everything that's presented, let's pretend that they are real. Okay.
Oh, I reckon they're real.
But whether they seem to have so many different. With all the accounts that we're given of interactions with aliens, I'd like to know what you think about, or what you can guess what their purpose is. Because to me, that's the biggest question.
Yeah.
I've read a couple of books, but I've seen a whole bunch of YouTube documentaries.
Oh, you mean the real science?
Yeah.
We are the new scientists.
Some slideshows made in 2006.
You got to have all the mouth noises and the ums in the voiceover, because that's how you know it's real science.
Yeah. It's narrated by like a 15-year-old.
Or an ex-video gamer.
Yeah.
Ex-professional gamer who now believes flat Earth and is like, look, I have some truth.
Right. But, like, that's the thing. That's the thing I find extremely compelling. It's like, what the fuck are they doing?
There's one way I would look at this, which is like, if we were aliens, what would we be doing? But then that's really bleak, because we'd probably be, like, trying to take their shit or something. And I doubt a species that was advanced enough to get here.
Is that so?
Because, I reckon, yeah. I reckon humans would.
I think as humans, we're factionalized. And I see no reason why aliens would not be the same.
This is pure speculation on my part.
Yeah. Okay.
I would expect, if they were factionalized, and again, this is me projecting human history onto aliens.
Okay.
You generally don't treat natives of places we're trying to colonize super nice. Whereas aliens, as far as we can tell, they abduct a few people from time to time, but they're not like coming in and fundamentally changing in an obvious, like, intrusive way how we exist on a day-to-day level, which makes me think that their goals are not like human goals.
Okay.
But again, you're right, humans are factionalized, and so there's no reason to think that other more advanced species aren't as well. It's perfectly valid as well.
People might disagree with that a little bit, because what you're saying is, like, in general true, where people just, like, have a sighting, they'll have an interaction, and it seems like nothing really happens.
Yeah.
But what you don't see is the wiped memories that come back through regressive hypnotherapy, and the residual PTSD that people don't understand why. Like, why the fuck every time I talk about aliens or my experience do I break down? And it seems like they're doing stuff to people. Yeah. And they're just, like, wiping your memory, and they're like, oh, cool, we got away with it.
So, okay, this like, question...
That's their ethical farming type of thing.
But then this is kind of meta. But do you think that they're traumatized by... Like, did the aliens do something traumatic, or was it just the traumatic experience of the aliens who are actually doing something benign? Because I'm thinking, like, a veterinary trip to a cat might be traumatic, but to the humans, you're doing an incredibly humane thing. And again, I know that's, infantilizing humans somewhat on, like, the cosmic level, but if the aliens were, technologically advanced enough to get here, I'd like to think they're the humans to our house cat.
Well, the only thing that I could respond to that with is that, like, you could be right. That's a good point, but they have access to all that we have access to.
That's true.
They could know way more about our biology or our psychology.
You're saying, like, there's nothing to be gleaned specifically from them dissecting us and that, because we've dissected us, and they would just be able to access that. Yeah, that's true. That is a good point. I hadn't really looked at it from that perspective. I mean, the only thing you could then follow that with is, but then they're doing something that's outside the purview of our science or our psychology. They're looking for something we don't know to look for yet. They're
doing some real, like, Nazi experimentation.
Yeah. But then, I'm failing Occam's razor here, because I'm just assuming this high-level science and this, they just know things it's kind of a religious argument, God knows best in that. It's, well, the aliens, they know what they're doing because they built spaceships.
And that's another thing. Like, if you put together all the plausible accounts of people, like, interacting with aliens, their psychology seems to be, like, it's so difficult to understand. It doesn't seem, because they allow themselves to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
They put themselves in positions that we would consider compromising.
Yeah.
But they keep doing it, and yet they give us no hint. Like, okay, let me give you an example. The first, account of an alien abduction was, in the, I think it was, the 40s or 50s, something like that. It was this couple. They were driving home down a country road, and it was it's kind of interesting because it was a white lady and she married a black man, so that wasn't too common at the time.
Yeah.
So what they first remember is just the lights. They remember the car stopping, and then the car started again, but it was several hours later. So they had regressive hypnotherapy.
Yeah. And
they both remembered totally different things. The man, he was practically tortured. They did all sorts of things to his genitals. He was cut open and prodded and stuff. The lady was they spoke to her. She was even able to speak with one of the aliens and say, what are you doing? What's happening? And the alien spoke, through telepathy, he spoke to her. He looked like a star map. And he's like, okay, do you know where you are on this map? And she's like, no. And he's like, well, there's no point in me telling you. That's what she remembers about her interaction with them. It was one of the high up command aliens. So they do these contradictory things that seem to be kind of they're very calm around us. It's like they know what they're doing. They know the limits of how we can affect them.
Yeah, but that seems fair because they can abduct us and wipe our memories and stuff. We're their playthings. Why would they feel anything but calm?
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny.
So what you're saying is that they wear playthings. That's kind of the point that I'm trying to get to. Who are we to them? And I think
well, not playthings. How you said was the commander or something. He said, point to the star map, and if you don't know where you are, there's no point me telling you now.
Yeah.
That could either be a grift. He's just fucking with the poor human, but then why wipe the memory and blah, blah, blah. Or it could just be legitimately honest. You are part of something way bigger. You are not technologically advanced or intellectually advanced to understand it yet. So what's the point in me saying a bunch of words you won't understand? Which, if that's true, that's legit, right? That's a legit explanation if true.
Yeah.
If a general was explaining classified information to you, you didn't understand any of the acronyms, you didn't understand the strategy, you'd just be like, what's the point of this? I don't understand. You know what I mean?
I guess so.
And not to...
There's still a nuance. There's a nuance to it which kind of...
The cruelty muddies the waters, because then it's if they're so benevolent and calm and high-minded, why the cruelty and the trauma and stuff, right?
Yeah. Okay, so which leads me to this point that I've started to realize, and that there seems to be, okay, and this is, I'm reaching here.
Go on.
There's this trend that they seem to feed off our emotions as humans. Not just emotions, but our impulses. There's something about that, because there are ones that like to spook you, like to create fear. There are others that want to mate with you. They want to give you a sexual experience. A lot of people have experienced that. That's the one that people are least likely to talk about.
Right, because it's a taboo on 2 levels.
Yeah, and who wants to say I fucked an alien? Yeah.
Was it good?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. They always say the same thing. It was an alien, but it was beautiful. And it approached them and embraced them with this feeling of love that they've never, ever experienced before. And they had sex with it. And a lot of the times they get re-abducted and they see their half-alien children.
I mean, if true, the half-alien children is a clue, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Can't just get that from nowhere. Maybe there's something inherent about the human subjectivity that is absent from their subjectivity that they require for some greater means.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something about the way we experience the world specific to our biology that they feel the need to inherit into them.
Okay. You don't have much of a religious background, do you?
No, not really. Oh, raised bad Catholic.
Okay. It reminds me of a part of the Bible.
Go on.
Where it says... And the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were desirable, and they came down and they had children with them.
No, I see what. Yeah, that's very clear allegorical kind of parallel there.
Yeah, that's just it's just something that came to mind.
No, but then I mean, again, why would? It's the same question. If these aliens are so advanced, what do they need us for? If God is so big, what do they need us for?
Here's the thing. What I'm leading to is that they could have a totally different set of needs to us.
That we need a thing and we fulfill it one way, and they need a thing and fulfill it the other way. And there's something about the combination therein which they view as optimal or perfect or ideal, which is really weird because, okay, imagine trying to view yourself as an imperfect half, even though you feel whole. You don't know what it is about you that's missing or what it is about you that's unique. You don't know where to start, because it's like, if the emotion, how they said when they have the sexual experience with the alien, they feel this warm feeling of love. Yeah. And so doesn't seem like the aliens are hard up on emotions because they seem to be able to communicate it, right? Yeah. So then you're like, okay.
Or even just provoke it out of nothing.
Yeah. So
it's a stimulus thing.
So a lot of the time people are, the essential humanity is our passions. And I think, okay, that's not the essential humanity according to these aliens, apparently. Yeah. So then you have to follow, what the hell is our essential humanity then? We've always done it in parallel to machines and robots and animals. Yeah. We have a conscience, they don't. We have these highfalutin emotions, they don't. Well, no, the aliens have got that too, man. So it's something else.
It leads to the thing I keep bringing up, that there is a possibility that these aliens aren't from a distant planet, that they are extra dimensional, and therefore, on their, let's say, if it's not a dimension, that it's a different vibration or a different part of the spectrum. Yeah, and they would have different needs based on that environment that they come from, natively. Yeah. That could have a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I would say so. It's like that idea of, in quantum physics, superposition, something being in multiple places at once, I guess, or you'd have parallel universes and stuff. If there was, for some reason, a universe that was failing or a universe that was incomplete, and they're like, oh, maybe sucking something from our universe into theirs, to patch up a hole. Because that's the thing, pointing at a star map and saying, if you don't know where you are, that could mean anything. That could mean the universe is falling apart. It could mean a galactic war. It could mean we're lost.
He could have had a 5-dimensional map, and she just didn't know how to comprehend it.
Exactly. I mean, you don't know what level they're operating on, because they were evidently able to get here and cloak themselves and all that. It's funny though, like you say, they seem to want to show an awful lot about themselves. Not everything. Just seems like an awful lot from the human perspective. Yeah. What you look like, what your ships look like, you appear from time to time. You seem to tell people your motivations in a way that they can readily access with technology that already existed. It's what? So what are they doing?
Oh, shit, my phone. Sorry, I'll cut this part out. Sorry, just be a second.
The magic of editing.
What was that? Do you remember the last point you were making?
We don't know their motivations. Universe might be leaking into each other.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, enough about that. Enough. Let's get to some of your stories.
Okay. So the first one, the first one kind of happened. I forget how old I was, and it's kind of a peripheral to me. But my sister was into Ouija boards for a little bit. Yeah, man, that's some fucking dark shit. But the thing is, again, this is where the dickhead skepticism thing really makes inquiry impossible. Because my mum and dad, for different but related religious reasons, were kind of against anything demonic and any kind of... they were real uncomfortable with the Ouija board, and they were disappointed that she'd done it and stuff like that. But she and her friend who had done the Ouija board swore that it spoke to the, in the same way that a lot of people who have that experience say, it conversed with them and it moved itself, no one was moving it, and they convinced me and a friend, I forget who, but they convinced us to do it with them. Okay. And I was like, that's fine, I'll do it, and I'll just think the same thing the whole time. Yeah. Prove you exist, demon. Come on, show me, show my rational mind. And nothing happened, of course. So I was lording it over, see, stupid demon, couldn't even. And looking back now, I'm like, man, that was just so the wrong attitude to go into it with. Yeah. Immediately not receptive to anything that was going to happen. Yeah. Obviously it wasn't going to work.
It's okay, fuck you, man. Why should I talk to you?
Yeah, exactly. Like, the demon probably has bigger and better motivations than like, this smug teenager, I will disprove his empiricism. Like, he doesn't care.
I shall knock the fedora from his head.
It should have. It should have been knocked sooner. But then the thing is, with the Ouija board, a lot of people who've experienced it seem to just have very negative reactions to it. Like, there's good supernatural, shall we say, or like, light or holy or whatever you want to call it. It seems to get good feelings from humans. And there's like this kind of black, unpleasant supernatural. And most of the people I've talked to about Ouija boards report the same thing, which is just not good. It's not like a good energy to let in,
Yeah. If I were to put like some agenda behind it, my guess is that if there is good and evil, its focus is trying to make you fear evil as opposed to seek good, if you know what I mean. To live a life of like hiding under the covers as opposed to a life of...
Embrace life versus like fear and reject life.
Well, not life.
But evil.
But just, to fear evil, to be like just worried, to be paranoid, to be...
It's interesting because the devil is meant to be charming, right? In Christian mythology. Mythology
means that it's like... It's a story that's been passed down. It could be true or false.
Or more just like, the devil will be handsome, and the whole mythology around the devil is that they are generally like charming in their pitch. That doesn't ring true for the experience of, like, say, with Ouija boards. It's not really charming. Like, people tend to have a negative reaction to it and be put, like you say, they fear evil. It's odd that usually in our mythologies, evil doesn't insist on itself to be feared in that direct kind of way.
Think of it more of this way. By fearing evil, you would be empowering it.
You wouldn't stand up to it. Yeah, I get what you mean.
You'd be afraid of it, and you wouldn't be kind of like you wouldn't be bold in the way of righteousness. You could be intimidated.
Yeah, I see. I was looking at it from the sense of it's telling you to go away, like it wants its own space. But you're right. It's sowing the seeds such that if it were to come, people would fear it and not stand up to it.
Yeah.
Whereas I guess good or empowering spirituality is the stuff that makes you feel like you're capable of standing up to evil.
Yeah.
I guess that could be the parallel. I don't know a lot about spirituality in that way, so I guess a lot of it is mediated by my direct experience with it rather than like any knowledge one way or another.
Yeah.
Which, that's one way of looking at it. Like, when I saw Crow Jones do performances and they would do like ritual stuff beforehand, I don't know the spiritual underpinning of what they were doing, but I know that it gave me a sense of calm and place, and like it did a thing even without me understanding it. And that's the important thing. Like, the supernatural does things, whether or not you understand it. You don't have to. It acts upon you. It doesn't require your understanding.
Speaking of which, a lot of, like, I've mentioned this before as well a couple of times, but I'd like to get your sort of thoughts on it. A lot of things happen to people who put themselves into a receptive state.
Yes.
Like with the Ouija board, like you said. And I've got a friend who's she's had a close encounter with a UFO. And she was saying she just came back from a meditation retreat, as well as there are all these videos that I've seen on this dude, Stephen Greer. He's like one of the main alien guys.
Oh, yeah.
One of them. He approaches all the people that are in office, the ex-ministers of defense, and he goes to them and tries to get them to admit that they've interacted with or that they know about aliens.
To no avail?
To shitloads of avail.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep. There's like if you watch Unexplained on Netflix.
Yeah.
It starts off with, and you can watch the whole press conference as well. It's a proper official press club conference, and it's got all these people who either are or at one point were high ups in the military or in the defense or somewhere in government, and they all acknowledge the existence and the interactions with aliens.
Yeah. But they won't say why?
Oh, man, like, yeah. I haven't looked that deep enough.
I find it weird they say, yeah, it exists, but somebody go, oh, you know, why? And they're like, oh, no, it's classified. So why tell us then? You know, oh, man. Look, it's like they're playing a con too. It's like the aliens are playing a con, and then the higher-ups are also playing a con.
Well, the thing is that they want their technology really, really badly.
Yeah.
And they just can't figure it out.
Then it makes you think, you know how like in X-Files, it's the colonization thing, like the humans are facilitating it. You kind of imagine it's like this really shonky backroom deal where like heads of state and military are like, no, we want your technology in exchange for whatever it is you want human livestock for. And the aliens are like, no, we're not going to give you that. Like, we can just take them. Like, you could almost imagine the most duplicitous humans and the most duplicitous aliens having this bizarre conversation about the fate of everyone.
Yeah.
But again, like, what would the humans have to... Oh, right, us. I was going to say, what do humans have to offer, but just countries full of people. Just imagine if China was just like to the aliens, just come down and take as many as you want, we got heaps. Yeah. It'd be fucking weird. Yeah. Because what would the rest of the world do? Be like, hey, don't do that. And they're like, what? What are you going to do? It's aliens.
Hey, China does it anyway.
Yeah, but now with aliens.
Oh, yeah, imagine that.
Hollywood, if you are listening, China plus aliens. Yeah. Give me money. This is the next super.
Wow, yeah. That'd be incredible.
Actually, I'd kind of watch that, though.
With these powers...
harvest even more of our citizens' organs.
So, like, when you boil it down, there seems to be a tinge of contempt that aliens have towards humans. And the interesting thing is that when they crash and when there are accounts of people actually, like, capturing them, they're quite powerless.
Really?
Yeah. Like the original Roswell crash and plus another crash that happened around near that time, near that place. There was a few dead greys, but there was always one that was alive. And and one of them was, like they said in this documentary, one of the accounts is that, like, a guy came up and he saw the military approaching them, and one of them was crying, holding this box, like grasping onto it, and they were told, get the box. And so the dude just, like, rifle butted the alien in the head, like, butts, to get the thing out of his hands and killed it. But there's another story of, and it was like, it was absolutely helpless. Like, it didn't have weapons on it or anything like that. No handheld, hand-to-hand combat preparations.
I guess if they're, like, telepathic creature, they probably just, like, don't even... That's why they want us, our big, strong bodies.
Oh, maybe.
Well, if they're, like, weak as fuck, but they've got amazing, powerful brains.
They could make robot bodies. If it was about, like, physicality.
Have you seen Blade Runner? They die after 4 years. Science. Look it up. Ridley Scott, MD. That's how you get a science.
Okay. Yeah. But, like, okay, so there's this other one that they captured.
Yeah.
And it was able to communicate telepathically with one dude.
Oh.
And it fucking lived with the guy for 5 years.
Really?
Yeah. It was called an Eben.
Eben?
Yeah.
Is it, are these, like, widely denied and discredited by governments, or are they considered fakes, or what's the general reception of these things?
The basis of where I choose to sort of, like, get the stuff from is from people that used to work for the military.
Right.
I usually take what they say, like, more for granted than someone who...
You'd assume they'd know more.
Yeah.
You would have to assume.
And they seem to be, like, really boring people that they like to live according to the letter, and the way they explain things is so kind of
matter of fact.
Yeah.
It's interesting, the idea of the alien living with him. You know, in American Dad, they've got Roger, but he's just a bumbling idiot. But God, could you imagine being an alien and just having I guess I'm crashed here and hiding now.
Yeah.
God, that'd be so bizarre. Yeah. What happened to it after 5 years? Did it die?
It died of, it doesn't say why, but it was, like, natural causes. I think it's just not designed for this.
To live here.
Yeah. Like the story of Trevor Wallace, when he was abducted, he said that he woke up in a UFO. They were doing stuff to him, and the oxygen was so low. He was at a constant state of, like, kind of semi-panic.
Oh, they don't need as much oxygen as... Oh, yeah. Like, oxygen can kind of make you get high and like, get all woozy and shit. if you
Maybe,
if there's too much of it. Oh yeah, probably just really sick all the time for too much oxygen.
Oxygen sickness, whatever that is.
yeah. That dastardly oxygen. Let's do something about it.
Yeah. So that's something I've never heard enough details about.
I'd be interested.
I'd love to watch a sitcom of that. Roger and the Eben.
I'm sick all the time, man. I want to go home. Wow, this really went downhill after episode 3. Just sick all the time.
Episode 1, it's like, hey, have a cup of coffee, and he's just vomiting for the rest of the episode.
No, it's really avant-garde. Yeah. The makeup of the alien is amazing. You would swear that vomit is realistic.
Yeah.
Do you know, again, because you seem more of the authority, their biology must be totally different to ours. Like, do they have mouths?
Yeah.
They have mouths?
They've got small mouths, small ears, small noses.
But they're like humanoid, if I understand correctly. Like, they have 2 arms and 2 legs, and they're just kind of small humanoids.
And there seem to be different kinds. There are some with 3 fingers, some with 6. There's a whole bunch of different races. There are ones that are Nordic that look like beautiful blonde tall people, but they don't speak and communicate the same way. They just have the appearance. They're the ones that do a lot of mating and interbreeding. Well,
because they're attractive. Those Nords.
Yeah. So
my keyboard lovers out there.
Yeah. What was your question originally?
I am curious now, if there's so many of them, it's like you say, humans are factionalized, maybe aliens are federated. So, it's not just one kind, like one species of alien, or it's like what's the Federation called in Star Trek? Is it just the Galactic Federation? Whatever it is. You would have to imagine.
I think it's just the Federation.
Well, there you go.
The Federation of Planets.
Planets? But then I would guess they're not just one species from one planet knocking around doing one planet's worth of stuff. You'd have to imagine there's a network of them. Because, how many planets must there be? How many stars are there? So how many planets must there be? It would stand to reason that there's a lot of life just dotted around there. If they knew how to travel and communicate around, it would stand to reason they'd be federated in some way, hey?
Yeah. Well, they seem to get along
better with themselves than with us, apparently.
Well, okay, there is one instance in history, and there have been paintings done of this, where there was above some city.
Yeah.
This is like possibly a few hundred years ago. A great war that happened in the sky.
Oh, wow.
And it's like cigars versus flying saucers.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
And there's paintings done of it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You can... Oh, man. I got to keep it on hand. I'll find it and I'll post it.
You've got to get a big folder of all these...
yeah.
Because this is just, blowing my mind right
Sometimes
now.
I'm like, I have to start creating my own dossier. What I'm going to do is that, if I ever get cameras involved with this, I'm just going to, cover a wall with, these pictures that I refer to.
You got to get thumbtacks and string. That's how you know you're legit.
Some red yarn.
Oh, yeah. None of these people work there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But then you've said this before on podcasts as well. That's how that's how thoughts on the paranormal and thoughts on the extraterrestrial swept under the rug is they're made out that because these are complex ideas, the complexity and the convolutedness of them is like, oh, look at this ridiculous conspiracy theorist. It becomes another way people dismiss it because they're like, look at all these steps you need to get to your conclusion.
Yeah.
It's when in reality it's because you're dealing with very complicated things.
Yeah.
It's not about trying to find as many facts you haven't decided a conclusion and you're trying to thumbtack facts together.
Dude, it's like going back a couple of hundred years and explaining everything that an astronaut needs. It's like, well, space is actually a vacuum.
You mean the firmament?
Yeah. One day I want to interview a flat earther, but one that really knows his...
I don't know if that's a thing.
Well, look, I got to give it the benefit of the doubt that there is someone out there that truly believes, that truly can back themselves up scientifically. I mean...
But then, okay, this is the speed of light thing again, though. If they have all these perfectly valid and sound reasons why the world is flat, it doesn't change the shape of the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they wouldn't just have to show that the flat Earth model works. They'd have to disprove the globe Earth model that we're currently using. Whereas with the aliens, we're not doing anything with the aliens. There's nothing to prove or disprove. It's just a collating of experiences.
Yeah.
Whereas a flat Earther, they have to show you that the entire world is actually a big old lie.
Yeah.
Which, it's a hard ask. I like satellites.
And they always are. You can't trust what you see as well, because the examples that are always really mocked are always like they possibly don't represent like the forefront of
flat Earth thought.
Yeah.
No, I know what you mean.
Because people are always saying stuff like those poor people in Australia falling off the bottom. It's like, oh shit, this guy doesn't know what gravity is.
Yeah. Obviously, there's no reason to engage with that rube. But it's easy to like take the worst example of any idea, any thought, and be like, oh, that's dumb. That whole school of thought is like it. You know, people do it with feminism. People do it with like left-wing political ideas, but then people also do it with like crank pseudoscience and that. Mm-hmm. Every step of the way, you take the dumbest example of that idea,
and you straw man that shit.
Yeah, and you're just like, look at that idiot. I am so much smarter than them. Therefore, that entire school of thought is invalid. Yeah. Doesn't mean X school of thought is valid or Y isn't valid. It's just you shouldn't take the worst of a group.
Yeah.
You should take the very best of a group. I'm just skeptical that there's such a thing as the very best of the flat earthers. It's like, this guy's the intellectual thought leader of the flat earth movement.
What I've seen though is that like I don't know if it's a typical human trait. I don't know if it's something that I've personally done with my life and my sense of values or beliefs. And that's that they did some really scientific tests. They did the whole like shooting a laser over a lake. Mm-hmm. And that failed. That failed them. And they're like, something's wrong. Something's wrong with this laser.
Wait, the flat earthers did that? Yeah.
And also, but here's the big one. You know what a gyroscope is, right?
Yes.
That it'll keep its position. It will stay upright. They use gigantic gyroscopes. That's how huge ships stay upright.
There's a gyroscope in the middle.
Yeah. They have them welded to the bottom of the ships.
Right.
So even if you get slammed by waves,
the gyroscope kind of swings.
It's not going to flop over to the side.
Ah, okay.
That gyroscopic force is going to keep the ship up straight.
Right.
And so they got one of these extremely expensive gyroscopes. It's called it's like an electromagnetic gyroscope.
Yeah.
Right. So it can measure things down to the tiniest. It's just the most reliable thing you can get. So
yeah.
They put in for this, and their theory was because the Earth is not rotating, this gyroscope shall remain up straight. And they were saying, okay, this is going to prove it, because if the Earth is turning, I think it was like in an hour, it should be exactly 15 degrees tilted.
And let me guess.
It was tilted.
15 degrees?
Yes.
What do you do? You get another gyroscope?
This is what you do. Yeah. Either you get another gyroscope, and then when that fails, do you know what you do? You coat it in lead to stop cosmic radiation. Because the cosmic radiation probably had some type of influence on it. And if that doesn't work, you cover it with another, lead was a mistake. Oh no, so you use a different type of material that's truly going to like block all the cosmic radiation.
Where are they getting their money from? That's just like...
I don't know. Like,
it blows your mind, doesn't it?
There's a lot of really rich people that are investing in this. Yeah.
Do you hear it? You know that rapper Bob, B-O-B? He's a flat earther. Yeah. And he started a GoFundMe to pay for a bunch of rockets to send the rockets up to show me the curve. And it's like, but we've already done that. That's happened.
Yeah. Here's the thing that sucks. Like science, and especially like astroscience, their concern is not with proving that the world is round.
No, they have
so therefore they use cameras that have like kind of wide angle lenses.
Yeah.
So it's going to make the Earth look curved anyway.
Right.
And in the past, like stupid things have happened, like when the first men went on the moon. I can't English properly very well right now.
No, it's a hard.
So
language.
What they used they used all this as promotional and marketing material.
Yeah.
They cut out pictures of them in their training.
Yeah.
And they sort of pasted it on the backgrounds of like of like space and stuff. And they sort of published those as like, here we go. As you can see, there's a man in space going for his moonwalk. And it's just like... And so people found like the original pictures and they're like, what? And there's a whole bunch of that sort of stuff where they weren't concerned with people not believing it. They were just selling it.
It was propaganda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they didn't give a crap about like it.
I feel like people were more gullible back then now. Like we're very cynical in our modern internet age.
You cannot get away with that.
No, but back then, man, do you remember hearing about this? When the original War of the Worlds was transmitted on the radio, people thought it was real. They thought it was an actual emergency broadcast. And people went ape shit. And people say, oh, that wouldn't happen these days. It's like, yeah, because you've had 100 years of radio broadcast. But imagine, the president was on the TV. Or the
mass hysteria it's a phenomenon like amongst humans that I don't think we'll ever lose it.
Oh no! Anything sets it off.
Even flat Earth is a form of mass hysteria.
It's a form of mass rejection of the consensus, which you could say is a kind of like calm, measured hysteria. It's like
it's hysterical because it's an illogical kind of it's influence,
lashing out response. But then people kind of have hysterical responses all the time in terms of like. Politically, say, or just socially, no one advocates for like the most efficient, like harm-reducing thing. Anything like people don't want waste when it comes to medical systems, or they don't want the public transport system to be like or all these things that when you think about it, like people need to get around. People need healthcare and that it's hard to explain.
We're governed by rhetoric and charisma.
Yes.
Which is the first huge flaw in the way that we choose to like run our lives.
Yeah.
That's
why if hysteria happens again, it'll be because someone very charismatic kind of tells us all to just go nuts.
Yeah. They'll make us scared of something.
Everyone's already scared of everything all the time. We're so scared these days. Yeah. It's interesting on a podcast called Fear of the Unknown. If you talk to people about things that scare them the most, it'd be really mundane, silly things. It'd be really like stuff that's kind of everyday, like immigrants. Like, what's really scary? Alien dissections. And fucking unicorns that are homicidal.
Yeah.
Man, because they've got a natural weapon.
It's funny, though, because... when you say that, what comes to mind is that like we live in a world of fear, but we all are coping with it. Like how high are the rates of anxiety and depression? It's crazy.
And people are, it wasn't like that in my day. It's like, well, it's kind of good. We're diagnosing it now. Like obviously people are aware of something. I do think
that it was like it's a scientific fact that it's grown.
Yes.
And I think it's this society that we've created for each other, blah, 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 social media, etc.
It's anxiety inducing.
Yeah.
You see horror films nowadays about social media? Have you noticed that there's a few, about like people that have committed murders or like suicides or like ghosts in social media? Yeah. That's it's weird, isn't it? Don't you think?
Yeah. Art always imitates life. That's after the bombings, that's when all the Godzilla movies came out.
Yeah, that's
that Romero guy who started the whole zombie thing?
Romero.
Yeah, Romero.
Yeah, Day of the Dead and...
Yeah, like zombies are an allegory for
consumerism.
In a way, that could be one of them. But
that mass human force that kind of.
Well, here's the thing: what do you do when you see a bunch of, like, for example, I assume that you're not a Trump supporter, right?
Not really. Not unironically.
Yeah. So the way that people typically view a Trump supporter is this dehumanized kind of dangerous thing.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
And that's why we love zombies.
Yeah.
Because we like
humans who aren't humans.
Yeah, exactly. We love to see people who are not on our side as not people anymore.
I think, and you know how you talked about the culture of fear we're in? That would be why, like, people don't think you can just talk to someone you disagree with.
Yeah.
And I know that's a thing a lot of boomers say, you can't, people just don't want to hear what they disagree with. No, it's more the case of, like, mass discourse. Like you say, there's each side kind of sees the other side as zombies who are incapable of human reason and ration and discourse. So, like, what do you do with zombies? You baseball bat them in the head. You know, it's
you that shit.
No, don't. Come on, let's come on.
All right.
They're all okay.
All right.
On the record.
Let's not get
thumbs up. You're all, but you're all worse. Like I don't know why. Because like, let's be real. We're all nerds.
No politics allowed.
Nerds.
They exchanged their for a.
It's not just. It's like because their fat comes out in hot, so you got to like cover it up. They're all middle class. What people don't have the time for this. Sorry, politics.
You know what? This is a safe space.
I'm glad.
For politics. No politics allowed.
Yeah, get out politics.
Yeah.
We don't want you here.
I'm just going to beep out the whole thing.
Thank you.
So have you got any other tales?
So, on the subject of sleep paralysis.
Yes.
I, too, get the sleep paralysis.
Uh-huh.
But I get it like you do. I get it, I basically don't move and I can kind of perceive the room. Mm-hmm. And aside from the panic of not being able to move, I'm generally kind of calm. I just kind of hope that I can move again. And the breathing, I haven't tried the holding my breath, but I do the rapid breathing and that tends to snap me out. The interesting thing, because I feel like we get the dud sleep paralysis because it's not a trippy hallucination, but my dad gets the hag.
Oh, fuck.
Dad gets it, but you want to know the weirder thing about the hag? Okay, so I'll roll this back. Dad, I didn't know if he got this in earlier life, but my dad, when we were younger, he had a night terror one time, and as far as I'm aware, it was his first experience of it, and he said, he was weighed down and couldn't move, there was nothing he could do, and there was this demonic force just sitting on him, just this oppressive weight, just weighing on him, and he tried to yell for help, and he couldn't move, and all this stuff, and blah, 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 and it really, really terrified him, because from what I understood, it was not a common experience for him. But then that happened again, I think a couple of times, actually. It happened enough times that he mentioned it to my very, very religious grandmother.
Okay.
Right? And she gave him a ward. She gave him rosary bead to keep under his pillow. And he's never gotten it since.
Wow.
Which I find... Because I always would have thought you'd experience it in a way similar to a family member or a kind of person you like spiritual in a similar way to. But no, I get the kind of calm, depersonalized one, but he specifically got the hag.
Yeah.
That's scary. Amazing. It really got to him. He was like very spooked by the whole experience.
The rosary bead took it away. I've seen a documentary of like a guy that it was so bad. It was so terrifying that he did sleep studies and you can see him in the grips of it. And they tried to exercise him and it wasn't working, you know. I feel so bad for those people.
Yeah, that's particularly terrifying.
Because some people, like, they're there for like minutes and they're basically it kind of looks funny because they're lying there totally relaxed, like going, you know, but it's absolutely like, it's the worst thing that you can imagine. I mean, you're trying to sleep, for fuck's sake.
You're already tired. You don't need this, you fucking demon. I've got work tomorrow.
Okay, but I've had one unique experience where I was able to get up. And you know how like you get up and you're like, fuck, I'm still in the bed.
Yeah.
But so you find yourself still like lying down.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I got up and I just started walking and I walked out of the room. But the snapshot that my mind had taken was its limit was at the doorway. So
you opened it to nothing.
And it was just static.
Yeah. It
was static outside.
Like a TV static.
Yeah, kind of like TV. It's like maybe like, have you ever been choked out?
Yeah.
You know how like your vision starts to go
like when you close your eyes and you get the freckly
it was kind of like
nonsense.
that. Because the thing is, I could hear my kids playing in the other room, and they were in real life. They actually were playing. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna see if I can. Like, I was thinking, am I astrally projecting?
Right.
So I thought, I'll try it out. I got up and walked towards the door. As soon as I opened the door, it was all just a fuzz out there.
Yeah.
And I kind of woke up out of it and I was just like, that's interesting.
And you've said that your brain takes a snapshot of the room, but then obviously outside the world it doesn't have the power, or it doesn't have the imaginative skill to construct the rest of the world, or
maybe because it is based on an actual snapshot.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because like you'll notice all the details. Like if you walk out of this room, there's a lot of stuff that you'll forget about what's in here.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you have that snapshot and you're in sleep paralysis, you can suddenly start to observe shit that you just overlooked.
Have you, because you've, when you've had it, you've kind of experimented with it. Have you noticed that you can maybe see a detail in your sleep paralysis that you didn't even notice was there in reality, or is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah?
Exactly that.
Really?
Yeah.
It's actually, I'm in a weird place now, having listened to the podcast, a few of the past podcasts. I find the sleep paralysis like so anxiety inducing because I'm always worried it'll be the last and you'll just be paralyzed forever. Yeah. But you've got me really like morbidly fascinated, and I almost I'm wishing it upon myself to give it the red hot empirical go, because I used to be able to lucid dream.
Okay.
And I feel like it was wasted because teenage me would just fly. I'd just be like, I'm in a dream, Superman, and then I'd just be flying around for a bit, and then I'd wake up. And man,
trying to conjure up naked ladies.
No,
it's like come on.
I was like such a fucking late bloomer that like when I had the superpower of being able to realize I was in a dream and basically be God, all I wanted to do was fly. I didn't even like summon tits. Like what did?
I've had a couple of lucid dreams, but it's like for 20 seconds.
Yeah, well, it's never
20,
for long.
20 dream seconds or whatever it is. Like, but I found that I didn't have much control. Like, I would try and leap, but I could only. It was like the Matrix, where you can only bend physics.
Yeah,
I couldn't actually control stuff.
I would, and this is pure speculation on my part. Mm-hmm. It would be because I found my experience of it. I would just wholeheartedly embrace that it was a dream. Like. Yeah. You knew it was going to be over soon, and you knew that this entire world was like this warbling distortion of your thoughts. Yeah. But it was more like I used every ounce of my presence of mind in that dream to just do. But you know what as well? That must be just another layer of dream logic, because all I wanted to do was fly. And I don't want to fly as a person, like myself. I don't be like, man, if I could fly, I'd just fly around. No, it's dangerous. It's like helicopters and shit. Yeah. But like in the dream, that's all I wanted to do. So maybe that makes me think, even though I realized I was dreaming, maybe I was still dream me and not awake me with like rational... Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, why would I want to fly? What is fly? I mean, it was rad though. Man, if you were ever in a dream where you can just able to Superman fly, it's just the most amazing feeling.
I would challenge that with the one I had, which was breathing underwater.
Ooh, that would be nifty.
And I felt, because I was in my comfortable bed, it wasn't cold, it wasn't slimy or wet. It just felt like I'm underwater, just like
that's cool.
Yeah, and breathing the water.
Oh yeah, that would be rad.
Yeah, there are things that you can buy to help you lucid dream. Like it's like an eye mask.
Oh really?
That when it knows when you entered into a REM state, and it will flash these LED lights into your eyes, and you're supposed to kind of like over time figure out, it's dream time now.
That's pretty awesome. I kind of want that.
Yeah, you should try. I reckon if you've been able to do it before.
Well, I'm a good sleeper as well, so I feel like I wouldn't. Oh man, that's a rabbit hole right there.
Give it a shot, I reckon.
Yeah, I have to come on the podcast again, like Spanish's adventures in his own head.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's weird in there. There's lots of flying. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'd prefer lucid dreaming over sleep paralysis any day. Well, I mean, kind of want to give it a red hot go now. I want to see the door static.
Yeah, that was so weird. It only happened once, and since then I've never thought of doing it. But it was at a time, I think everything lined up perfectly, because I was it's when I was studying and I'd stay awake for days at a time. So I was like in this super awake, asleep kind of thing where like I was used to forcing myself awake. Right. So when I'm asleep, it was kind of like this, it kind of didn't feel too weird to be asleep and awake at the same time.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Very restless sleep. That doesn't sound very satisfying.
Oh, it's bizarre. Like I could sleep very quickly, and but wake up super quickly as well.
Was that because you were like working during the day and then studying at night, or was it?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so full on.
Yeah, I had to do a lot. I had to do a lot at once, but
yeah. Anyway,
how long have we been going for? Okay.
Red hot.
Yeah, we've been talking for an hour now.
Oh wow,
that's a good one. Originally, I aimed for like half-hour little chat, but these things always turn out to be like there's always a good hour that I can squeeze out.
Everything's a rabbit hole as well, I think, because so much is unexplored.
Yeah,
there's definitely you've explored more of it than I have, but I've come to realize that only through having these kind of conversations do you get to the bottom of it. Because information can be misleading when it's depersonalized, when it's out on the internet. You can't have a conversation with an article, but in person you can really explore these ideas in depth.
Especially when you're confronted with a decision that you have to make right then and there. Of do I believe this or not? Okay. Yeah. Well, I can't believe it because I haven't experienced it, so I'm going to give it some rationalization immediately.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to do that though. Yeah. I am trying to avoid that these days.
Yeah, I think life's a lot more exciting and interesting.
I just don't know enough. Enough.
Yeah, actually, it comes down to that, doesn't it?
Oh, there's so much. Yeah. Everything's a rabbit hole, and we'll never know everything. It's what you decide to put your faith into, and what you decide to use.
Yeah.
Because beyond that, it's just kind of nuts and bolts, and it's just kind of a rabbit hole of numbers.
Yeah.
It's the practical side of it.
I agree.
What are you going to use with your knowledge about aliens?
I don't know. I that's a really fucking good question though, because that part of me wants to understand the truth, because I have a feeling, and this could be just paranoia, but there is a trend of soft disclosure that's been happening, and I think that's something that's purposely happening. So people don't, the whole mass hysteria thing doesn't happen. It's like all these things all these rumors that we've heard, like all these billions of rumors that we've heard, one day it's going to be like, oh, it was true after all. It's going to be that type of thing instead of no,
Right,
so what
that's
I want
to slow feed is.
And I do know that I do have a feeling that they're trying to screw with us in a sense. So I just want to understand their MO, and I don't want to be part of whatever potentially nefarious things that could be happening. I'd like to say, when the aliens bring out their big alien ice cream truck, I want to be running out the other way if I realise that that's a thing I shouldn't be wanting.
Yes. No, that seems like the perfectly rational thing to do with this kind of information. Is you can't actively do anything about their machinations, but you can understand it.
Yeah. Yeah. On that note, we'll leave it there. Great talk, man.
Thank you, man.
Thanks so much for coming.
My pleasure. And, thank you very much.
Yeah, if you have any stories that you want to share with me,
I'll be keeping my eye out for more alien stories, that's for sure. You've opened my eyes.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Fear of the Unknown podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media with all links in the description.